Hey, what is up, investors? Jason here. So in this video, I want to talk about 2021 EV SPACs. I'm talking about Lucid Motors, talking about Polestar, talking about Solid Power, also Faraday Futures. There's a good amount of EV companies that are going public through a SPAC merger, and they're kind of not in the same category or being looked at the same as we were looking at companies back in 2020 that went public through a SPAC merger, like, say, for example, Nikola Motors, which was a really big EV SPAC. A lot of buzz behind that one. Everybody was rooting for an EV truck, and then that ended up being just a bunch of kind of false news by its CEO, its founder and CEO, and that guy ended up walking away from the company. Another one that was really big, Lordstown Motors, went public through a SPAC merger. A lot of people were rooting for that truck. And what happened there? Another one with a bunch of false news, and the CEO of the company ended up walking away from that as well. So those companies kind of just gave EV SPACs a very bad name, and that really hurt the whole market that we're seeing with a lot of companies right now that could be really good investments that are not getting the recognition that they should be getting. I see a lot of FUD in some of these companies that are being talked about. And at the same time, I think that some of these really do have a really good fighting chance to be really successful companies. So I want to talk about a few of them, to kind of just get into it, kind of give my opinion about it. So as we get to it, if you guys don't mind, please do me a huge favor. Please be sure to smash, destroy, annihilate, or just simply press that like button. That helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. It really goes a long ways with helping out. That's the easiest way to give thanks. And if you want to show a little bit more help for this channel, I do have a Patreon. The link is in the description, and there's a private Discord attached to that, as well as some other affiliate links that I do have. So let's get to it. Starting first with Faraday Futures, who's going to be going public under Property Solutions Acquisition Corp, ticker symbol PSAC. Now, they're going to be voting on their for this with the shareholders on July 20th. So depending on when you're watching this could have already happened. Today's July 16th that I'm making this video right now. But what you can see is that this has come down a whole lot. Currently, it's trading for a price of $13.26. But if you look at it, how high it was back 6 months ago, back in late January, early February, this was trading as high as $20.75 at that time. So it's come down quite a bit. And you can see that it's even just had some recent pullback here recently. Just a couple weeks ago, back in late June, we had seen this have even more pullback. So a good amount of pullback in the entire EV space in general, but SPACs have really gotten a bad reputation from companies that had gone public in 2020, kind of making investors cautious of the whole SPAC deal in general. And actually, if anybody is taking part into this vote and is going to be voting on the merger, they're actually requesting people to do so by telephone or by online vote by 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on July 19th. So they actually want them in before July 20th. And on July 20th is when they're going to be counting the votes. And then by July 21st, as long as everything goes to plan, it should be trading publicly under the ticker symbol FFIE. Should be opening the market with that. So just keep that in mind. That is the plan. Next is EV battery maker Solid Power, who's going to be going public through a merger with Decarbonization Plus Acquisition Corp, ticker symbol DCRC. Now, before this one was even announced, it was actually trading higher on this SPAC. It had gone as high as about $13.70, and then after it was announced who they found a target with, this one actually came down, and it actually is currently trading for a price of $9.97 at the time of making this video. So it's right now at a very fair price, in my opinion. This is where SPACs start out. This is as low as they get. Usually $10 is usually the lowest price you usually see a SPAC go to. So right now, there's just not a whole lot of interest in this. It's a completely different game than what we saw back in 2020 when any EV company was to go public through a SPAC merger. It would go up in value a lot, and that's not the case this year. We're seeing a much different story, and this is a company that I think that has a whole lot of potential because this is one that is backed by Ford and BMW, and they have really cool technology behind them. This is something that's going to be competing with companies like Tesla. This is what Ford is going to be using. This is what BMW is going to be using for their EVs. So this company has a lot of potential, but not a lot of investors that are really interested into it. And this one, in my opinion, is kind of a surprise that it's not doing as well as it should be. But hey, for people that are looking to get into it early on the SPAC merger, then in my opinion, it's at a really good price. Now, the company, which produces rechargeable batteries for automobiles as well as mobile power markets, will have $600 million in cash after completing the merger with Decarbonization Acquisition Corp. And that includes $165 million of private investors such as Koch Strategies Platform, Riverstone Energy Limited, Neuberger Berman Funds, and Van Eck Association Corp. Ford and BMW had last month, and this is referring to actually May, participated in Solar Power's $135 million early stage financing round. And this is just a company, in my opinion, that has a whole lot of potential. They're going to have a whole lot of money for this whole SPAC deal, and it's just not really treated like it's really an interesting company, which is something I find a little bit odd, but at the same time, that's just the way that the market is at this moment. Now we'll look over at Polestar, who is expected to go through a merger with Gores Guggenheim, ticker symbol GGPI, and it's still not 100% certain. That could be a possibility of why we're seeing the price in the stock come down a bit, but it's still a surprise because even without 100% certainty, usually you would see a SPAC go up in value a lot even before the target is officially confirmed, like what we saw with CCIV when before we knew 100% that they were going to be doing a merger with Lucid Motors. We saw that one really quickly go up in value before we were even could be 100% confident that they were going to make that announcement that there was going to be a planned merger. And in this case, I mean, Bloomberg said that this is the target that Polestar is going to be merging with, yet it's still trading for a price of $10 a share. Now, the news of this merger was broken by Bloomberg, who made the announcement, and Bloomberg is the same one that came out and said that CCIV and Lucid Motors was going to be merging. So I trust Bloomberg as a source to make those statements, and that's a pretty bold statement to make if you're not sure about it. So they're the ones that actually broke the story. Now, Polestar is expected to be valued at around $25 billion. So just to think about that, that's a pretty good-sized company. Now, for the people that are unfamiliar with Polestar, this is a company that was originally part of Volvo, and it was a project with Volvo. It was a brand that Volvo had. And then after Geely purchased Volvo, Polestar eventually broke off and became its own thing. And they are now kind of like the EV side of Geely in the United States is what it's kind of panning out to be like, because it's something that's marketable here in the U.S. It's being pushed here in the U.S. Everybody's familiar with the name Volvo. Geely isn't allowed to sell here in the United States. Very competitive for them, but this is their ticket into the to the EV market here in the United States is by going through Polestar. So there's a lot of potential here because Volvo and Geely, they're still going to be making the vehicles for this. So they're going to still be getting a lot of the margins of what is being made. And it's a very large company. So this isn't like a small little thing here. Polestar really has potential. They have a factory already. I mean, they already have a lot of capabilities to be putting these vehicles out and pumping them out into the market. So interesting that this is one that is still trading for a price of $10 a share. Now let's look over at Lucid Motors, who's going to be going public through a SPAC merger with Churchill Capital, ticker symbol CCIV. Now the interesting thing with this one was when Bloomberg hinted that there was going to be a merger with CCIV and Lucid Motors, and before it was officially announced by the companies, we saw a whole lot of movement within the stock. It was really trucking along, and then when the announcement was official and Churchill Capital and Lucid Motors came out and said that they will be doing a merger, we saw the stock go up a lot. We saw it go up to as high of $64.86 as the high. But then there was a good amount of pullback that happened afterwards. Now, I understand the pullback because the momentum was way too fast. The stock was originally priced at around $10 a share before the target was official, and the movement that it was already going into some pretty crazy momentum before the official announcement. So I understand why there was a lot of pullback that happened. Sorry to anybody that did buy at these high prices and end up being left with a much less valued version of the stock. But currently we're seeing it trading at a price that is about 1/3 of the value that it was at back at those highs at this moment. And we're talking about just within a week of the merger being finalized, which is kind of the interesting thing here. You would be expecting this to be trading at a much higher price, especially with all the news that has come out by Lucid Motors, by them saying that they have confirmed 10,000 pre-orders, and these are people that have put deposits down. And some of these deposits, I mean, I think they're like $7,000 for certain versions of the vehicle. So they're pretty serious deposits that have been put into Lucid Motors. Now there's other amounts as well that have been deposited, but anyways, that's should be very positive information, but it's not really showing that much of a reflection on the stock price, as well as their factory that's in production. And currently that they have a handful of vehicles already made being tested. They have, last time they announced it, they said that they had 89 vehicles that were complete, that were just going through the finishing touches. They're going through the last bit of testing so that they can start deliveries and get into more serious production of them. But at the same time, they're talking about how they're just going into the other phases of their company that they originally said that they were going to have that would take over time, that they're kind of just going into it right away. They're going into building out their factory much faster, and they're adding an additional 2.7 million square feet into their manufacturing facility. And that is something that should be complete within the next, couple years. And by 2023, they're expecting to be able to produce 53,000 vehicles by that time, and then greatly expand on that, over the next couple years, and eventually get to the point where they're going to be producing upwards around over 1 million vehicles a year. Now, the big thing, though, that surprises me about this whole SPAC deal with Lucid Motors is that this is a company that is very innovative, and their battery technology is better than anybody else. They have a battery that can go a much longer range than even Tesla. And the vehicle is very fast, and at the same time, it's a very luxury vehicle. They're competing with markets like Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Lamborghini. The very high-end companies is who Lucid Motors is competing with. And this is just a very luxury vehicle that has a whole lot of capabilities, and it is just very innovative. And it's coming out in the market, which is a big surprise that it's not selling. The stock is not selling for much a higher price than it actually is. But I don't really mind that. That's not a big deal to me, because then this allows me to be able to buy this stock at these lower prices. And then as things do happen in this company, then, well, who's benefiting from it? Everybody that bought into it early. Now, CCIV is going to have their shareholder meeting for the vote on July 22nd as the date. And if everything goes to plan with the deal, it is expected to close on July 23rd, and you can be expecting it to be trading on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol LCID. Now, this video isn't financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only, and it is only just my opinion. But I do think that these specific EV SPAC stocks are not valued the same as we were valuing them back in 2020, when companies would go public through a SPAC merger. Back then, if it was an EV stock, we'd see that thing go to the moon. And now it's a much different story. And I think that scarcity of what a couple of bad actors have done has really made an effect into some companies that could have a lot of potential, like Lucid Motors, for example. And it just brought a lot of short interest into these stocks. So anyways, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you guys think that any of these specific EV SPAC stocks do have a lot of potential? I'd like to know, so please let me know. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. As you guys know, new videos coming out on my channel all the time. And feel free to watch any of these other videos that do pop up. Thank you for watching.